Let's all rise for His Excellency, former President Jacob Zuma. Thank you, everybody. You may have a seat. Her Excellency, Ambassador Arekana Chombore Kwayo, His Excellency, former President Jacob Zuma, the Board of Trustees of the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, the Vice Chancellor of UCT, the Dean of Health Sciences of UCT, members of the Diplomatic Corps, represented political parties, academic leaders who are represented here this evening, our universities, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, welcome, welcome once again to the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice inaugural memorial lecture. Please give yourselves a round of applause. It's been a long day and we're finally here. For those I have not as yet met, my name is Faith Mangope, and it's an honor and a privilege to once again be serving you this evening as the host. Now, today has been one of those days that caused the spirits inside of us to awaken. And if anything, if they were lying dormant, I feel like they've been revitalized this evening or throughout the course of today. And I'll tell you why. Because I think we came to a fundamental understanding as we're in Robben Island, is that no one is coming to save us because we are the best savior that there is. We are the individuals who are going to save ourselves and save this republic of ours that we so love. And this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be extended further into this evening as we reflect really on legacies, on the legacy of Babu Walter and Mam Albertina Sisulu. And we're continuously doing so, and we're going to be hearing from Her Excellency Ambassador Arekana a little bit later. And I tell you one thing, you are in for quite a treat. A woman who does not mince her words, and I think that a voice for a much needed generation. And there's no other time than this time right here. So ladies and gentlemen, to welcome us all here, because we are in someone's home. So we must get the heads of the home to welcome us this evening. Please welcome the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, Professor Linda Ronnie.
Thank you, Faith, and thank you for your introduction of pretty much everyone, so I'll skip those, I think. Good evening, esteemed guests, colleagues, members of the Sisulu family, and Foundation, students and friends. I obviously extend a special welcome to Her Excellency Ambassador Arekana Chombore Kwayo, and Doctor, actually, may I say, as well, and His Excellency, the former President Jacob Zuma, the patron and the Board of Trustees of the Sisulu Foundation and Social Justice. Your presence here tonight is not just a mark of respect for Albertina Sisulu, but also a testimony to your commitment to the values she stood for. It is a profound privilege to gather with all of you here at the University of Cape Town's Graduate School of Business, and an honor to extend a heartfelt welcome to each of you as we open the inaugural Albertina Sisulu Memorial Lecture. I bring warm greetings and regards from our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mosa Moshabela, who is currently out of the country on university business. This event, held in partnership with the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, is of great significance. We stand here today not only to remember and celebrate Albertina Sisulu's life, but also to renew our commitment to the values she held dear, and discuss how her legacy continues to guide us in our quest for socio-economic justice in Africa. Albertina Sisulu, fondly known as Ma Sisulu, or the Mother of the Nation, dedicated her life to the fight against apartheid and pursuing social justice. She was a woman of courage, of conviction, and of compassion, a fierce advocate for equality and human rights who believed in the power of community, resilience, and justice. Her lived experiences ignited a fire within her, pushing her to become an activist, to stand against apartheid, and to lead in the anti-apartheid movement with her husband, Walter. Tonight, we gather to honor this remarkable legacy and to discuss the very issues Ma Sisulu held close to her heart. The theme of the lecture, the Sisulu legacy and the future of socio-economic justice in Africa, is very timely. In a world where inequality continues to persist, where socio-economic disparities grow, and where justice is still a distant hope for too many, we must remember that the battle Ma Sisulu began remains unfinished. Her life is a call to action, urging each of us to address these pressing issues with the same tenacity she exemplified. It is with great excitement and deep admiration that UCT welcomes our distinguished guest speaker for this evening. Dr. Chihomburu Kauai is a true beacon for Africa whose work spans continents, disciplines, and decades. She is a medical doctor, activist, public speaker, educator, diplomat, and entrepreneur. I don't think anyone can beat that. Whoa. She has dedicated herself to championing the causes of African unity, healthcare, and social justice. Dr. Chihomburu, your voice is a powerful one in this ongoing discourse, and we are thrilled that you are here to share your insights and experiences with us as we reflect on the Sisulu legacy and explore pathways to a more just and equitable society. As we begin this evening's lecture, let us remember that this is not only a commemoration of Ma Sisulu's legacy, but also a call to continue our work. Let us channel the spirit as we confront the challenges that persist in our communities, our country, and our continent. In honoring her memory, we are also reminded of our responsibility, our collective duty to create a world where justice, equality, and compassion are not just ideals, but lived realities. At UCT, we recognize that education has a pivotal role to play in advancing social justice. We are committed to fostering a generation of students who are not only academically excellent, but also socially conscious. Leaders who are equipped to deal with the inequalities that have plagued our societies for far too long. In collaboration with the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, we are dedicated to amplifying the principles of equality, dignity, and respect that Albertina Sisulu embodied. As we reflect on her legacy, let us also consider how we, each of us in our own capacity, can contribute to this vision. Ma Sisulu's story is one of resilience, strength, and service, values that transcend time and place, values that can guide us as we navigate the challenges of today. In moments like these, where we are confronted with the harsh realities of our past, we are also offered the opportunity to redefine our future. In conclusion, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Sisulu family and the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice for their dedication to preserving and promoting Ma Sisulu's legacy. Through this annual lecture, we have an opportunity to honor her memory and to reflect on our roles. Together, let us carry forward the torch that she has left us, a torch that illuminates the path towards a fairer and more just society. Once again, thank you all for being here and for your commitment to the ideals that Ma Sisulu cherished. Let this evening be a reminder that we all share the fight and we can advance it one step at a time. Let us reflect on a powerful quote by Ma Sisulu herself, which encapsulates the spirit of our gathering today. She said, "We owe it to the children of South Africa to build a future that they can be proud of." These words remind us that the pursuit of justice, equality, and compassion must be unceasing, not only for ourselves, but for generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, for those words, and to also look at introductory remarks and reflect on the purpose of this evening as well, as we really honor a giant of a woman, Ma Albertina Sisulu. Please welcome Professor Kwame Amua, who is the chairperson of the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice. Please give him a round of applause as he makes his way to the podium.
Good evening. Madam Program Director, may I seek your indulgence to basically ignore what occasions of this nature people use to recognize everyone who makes the time to come here. So if you mind, I won't do that, the usual salutations. Africa's progress was in many ways truncated by two major events which took place in the early 15th, 16th century, and the other one took place in the 19th century. The first one was slavery, which shipped some of our best brains, mind, women across the Atlantic to the New World. The second was the Berlin Conference of 1884, when without consultation, the continent was divided and owned by the West. These events really capped Africa's progress and then divided Africa, which I characterize Africa proper and improper. The Africa proper was the Africa which before slavery was at its best, leading in all fields of women endeavor, and created the Africa improper. But you know, the African has a spirit of always fighting, and that began the fight for justice. The fight for justice. You know, when some of our ancestors were even taken to the so-called New World, they forget that that New World, there were Africans there before Columbus set foot on that land. There were Africans there. And even there, they fought. And back home on our continent, the fight began in different form. In our own part of the world, the struggle led to 1951, when the Freedom Charter was born. In the rest of the African continent, through Nkrumah, Ghana became independent. And that started the whole independent movement on the continent. Until Namibia, Zimbabwe, and finally South Africa. But where does Africa stand today, as we speak? In our own country, the sacrifice, the blood which was shed, where do we stand? We still have the greatest inequality in the world, poverty. You know, I'm not a political scientist, so I don't want to get into politics. But if you look on the continent, we don't control our own destiny. We don't. We've been given something called democracy, which sometimes we don't understand. But I tell you, before then, Africa had a very beautiful system of governance. And if you listen to historians, those who came here, they were writing about our civilization. So today, we are in Africa improper. How do we go back to Africa proper? Which Mandelas, the Sisulus, the Nkrumahs, Amilcar Cabral, Nassers of the world tried to work around it. And they made some strive. But today, the type of leadership we have on the continent leave a lot to be desired. But you know, the African is resilient. There are voices coming out all over, calling us that we must come back to this great Africa, the great Zimbabwe. You know, the World Bank recently issued a report. It said the most unequal society in the world is this beautiful land of ours. And how many voices are still talking about it? And this brings us back to what Sisulu, Albertina, they are focused on justice. And that is why her daughter, after serving her country well, and after being jettisoned, said, you know what, I'm not going to go and lie down low and weep. I want to do something for my father, my mother, in promoting what they stood for. And what they stood for is justice. Political justice, economic justice, social justice, justice in all things. And please, as we stand here, among the voices that is making this call for this justice is no other than Dr. Arukana Shumbori Kwao. Kwao is a Ghanaian name because she's married to a Ghanaian. And as a Ghanaian, I'm proud of that. Least I say that I happen to be married to a South African, and I've been told almost endlessly that I've never finished paying the lobola. I do know that my brother-in-law, who died many years ago, Makato, I think he used to like a bit of alcohol. And I think I gave him enough. And I think he managed to decrease the amount of the cow. And that is why she's always complaining that I have not done the right and so on. So basically, this foundation is said, as we say, Sankofa. It's an Akan word. Go back to your root. Go back to the ideals that made the Mandelas, the Sisulus, Mbekis, to sacrifice a greater part of their life behind bars so that this nation, this continent, could once again rise up. But unfortunately, we are having new generation of leaders. You know, I won't use the word they have been bought. but it's a new generation of leaders whose ideological underpin is suspect. And this foundation set up to engage the intellectuals, the youth amongst us, to go back to our roots and a new generation of fight for emancipation of the continent and for this country will rise again. This is what the foundation is about. And those who were at Robben Island, we had universities, and just now the Deputy Vice Chancellor committing that they want to work with us to ensure that Walter and Albertina dream and vision shall be fulfilled. That this country and Africa can see justice. Justice not for the few, but justice for the many. Thank you very much.
Prof, if those are just the opening remarks, I cannot wait to hear from Her Excellency a little bit later on, because if that was the starter, the main meal is just going to leave us overwhelmed this evening. And we really do thank you for reminding us once again that the current status quo is improper, and we should never be comfortable in the space of improper. And thank you very much for that, much appreciated. To help us welcome our keynote speaker for this evening, please give a warm welcome to the CEO of the foundation, Mr. Mpumzi Mtekazi, as he comes up this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Program Director. Former President, Your Excellency, Board of Trustees, and the patron in particular. I requested a resume of our guest speaker, and I was given a dissertation. So there's no way that I can finish that dissertation. I'll use my discretion and choose what I think you should hear. Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana Chihombori is the founder and the president of the African Diaspora Development Institute. The abbreviation is ADDI. This ADDI is a 501c3 nonprofit organization which came into existence in March 2020. Its role is to represent all African diaspora. Her Excellency is a medical doctor, having practiced medicine for over 25 years. A founder and the owner of medical clinics, a diplomat, a public speaker, educator, and an entrepreneur. She's also an author, and her published book, Africa 101, The Wake Up Call, is the bestseller in Amazon. Prior to this, in her role as a permanent representative of the African Union Mission in Washington, D.C., between the period of 2016 to 2019, Her Excellency worked tirelessly towards fulfilling her mandate, which was to undertake, develop, and maintain relationships between African Union and the executive and legislative branches of the US government and the African Diplomatic Corps, Africans in the diaspora, and the Bretton Woods institutions. This was specifically in relation to the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade and in advancing the priority areas of Agenda 2063. Her efforts at mobilizing the diaspora as people of African descent, and not as citizens of any single African country, is unprecedented and exemplifies her ability to unify people around a common goal, speaking with one voice, as one Africa and as one continent. Before her appointment as a AU ambassador, her contributions to the cause of Africa had earned her many prestigious honors and awards. She has 2 awards, which she cherishes the most. The first one was the Achievement Award, which she received in 1996 from the incumbent president at the time, His Excellency the late President Nelson Mandela of the Republic of South Africa. On the stage as she received that award were both President Mandela and President Mugabe of the Republic of Zimbabwe. The second one was the African Woman of Excellence Award, which she received in July 2015 during the AU Summit in Johannesburg, in South Africa. She received this award alongside 15 other prominent African women, including the former President of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the former President of the Republic of Malawi, Madam Joyce Banda, Mama Winnie Mandela from the Republic of South Africa, Mama Ngina Kenyatta from the Republic of Kenya, Mama Asingwe Anyam, Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma from South Africa. Now, during her 3-year tenure as the AU ambassador to the United States of America, she received over 100 awards and attestations from many organizations during the African diaspora within the Americas. She received the 2018 Ambassador of the Year Award from Howard University in Washington, D.C. She also received numerous recognitions from members of the Congress, as well as governors, mayors, and county executives from across the United States, as well as the Caribbean and South America. The African continent is also recognizing the noble contributions that Her Excellency Arikana Chihombori is making to the development of Africa, as evidenced by the following accolades. In January 2020, after being featured having a profile in courage, Her Excellency was honored to be named 2019 Person of the Year by the Guardian newspaper, which is the largest newspaper in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the article published in June 2020, on the 12th, by the iGambia, a reputable Gambian newspaper, she was listed the 4th amongst the list of 10 most influential women in 2019. She was the only female to make this list. Reputation Poll, a leading global reputation management firm, in its July 29th, 2020 release, it lists in the list of 100 most reputable Africans. She also features as one of the most reputable Africans. In 2024, Her Excellency Arikana Chihombori was honored as one of the top 100 influential global voices by Leaders Without Borders Development Center and received the 2024 Millennium Business Hall of Fame Induction and Global Citizen Award from the Young, Gifted, and Black Foundation. She was also awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Science by the Amuda Bella University in Zaire, Nigeria, and the honorary degree of Doctor of Science by the University of Cape Coast in Ghana. As I conclude, Her Excellency is a fellow of the American Academy of Family Physicians and member of the American Association of Family Physicians, as well as Tennessee Association of Family Physicians. She was born and raised in Zimbabwe, where she attained her primary and secondary education. She then left Zimbabwe for the United States of America, where she obtained the bachelor's degree in general chemistry, a master's degree in organic chemistry, as well as the Doctor of Medicine degree. Her Excellency Aragana Chihombori is a proud mother of 5 children and a very she's a proud mother of 5 children and a very happy grandmother of 7 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Her Excellency Aragana Chihombori.
Sometimes when I listen to the introductions, I wonder who they are talking about. To someone that I have tremendous respect for, someone who has represented this country in a manner that is admirable, someone who's given his life, including 10 years at a place that we visited today. It is an honor to be in your midst, former President Zuma. Thank you for your transformational leadership. Thank you for your fearless position on who we are as a people. And thank you for speaking truth. My 2 memories of you is of when you were singing one particular song that others may have felt maybe a president shouldn't, but you stood your ground, for you felt that takes you back to a time in history when certain actions had to be taken. My second memory of you is when you were dancing. I can't remember what the function was, but boy, were you getting down. I said, that's my president. To my sister, the patron and CEO of the Sisulu Foundation, to your entire team that has worked tirelessly to make this inaugural program and event a possibility, we thank you. to the university, the chancellor, the provost, the professors, the students, of course, who are our future. Thank you for allowing us to be here today and allowing us to enjoy the comfortable settings that is UCT, the oldest university, and if I may add, the first university in apartheid South Africa that accepted black students. For that, we thank you. My name is Albertina Sisulu, a proud mother of 5 and a grandmother of 7 and 2 on the way. Today, we spent an afternoon at Robben Island. And as we were walking around, I had a bottle of water in my hands. And my sister, Honorable Minister Sisulu, leaned over to me and she said, "Take it easy on that water. We don't have female facilities at Robben Island." I said, "What? 2024, 30 years since independence, there are no female facilities at Robben Island. What gives?" Her comments reminded me, for when I went to Ghana, speaking at the University of Cape Coast, I stayed at a beautiful hotel. When I walked into the room, right above the headboard was a humongous photograph of Queen Elizabeth. And I thought to myself, now I am going to go to bed tonight with the shadow of Queen Elizabeth hanging over me. What kind of dreams was I going to have that night? I nicely found time. I called my VP and I said, "Could you help me take this photograph down? We shall put it back tomorrow morning, because tonight I intend to have good dreams." And I wondered why, since I was in Ghana, what kind of dreams I would have had I spent the night with the shadow of Nana Ya Asandwa hanging over my head. I also wondered, why is it that in 2024, we still have the photograph of Queen Elizabeth hanging over the walls of hotels in Ghana, and not a single photograph of a king or a chief from Ghana? So it is the following morning, I opened my speech by simply wondering, why is it that the photograph of Nana Ya Asantwa wasn't hanging in that room, and that the manager of the hotel was a friend and that we were going to have a conversation. Some little bird sent a little message. By the time I got to my room, there was a picture of a queen, a Ghanaian queen, hanging over my head. In 1963, our Pan-African fathers, at the invitation of Emperor Haile Selassie, met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to discuss the building of an Africa that spoke with one voice, the building of an Africa that was united, the building of an Africa that had a single currency, a single monetary policy, a single military, an Africa that should be, an Africa that was once upon a time. Unfortunately, when they met in 1963, NATO was in full force. NATO heard about the meeting that was getting to be revolutionary, a meeting that was going to undo the Berlin Conference, a meeting that was going to put an end to the exploitation of the African continent. That meeting had to be disrupted. So it is when our Pan-African fathers went to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we had the Casablanca group, which was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. They said Africa for the Africans and African Union now. The other 33 members, having tasted power, they were the Monrovia group. They said, no, let's wait on this African unity thing. Let's go slow. They were the majority. So the Casablanca group lost. Year in, year out, the African leaders would meet. The issue of an Africa that spoke with one voice was tabled, and year in and year out, that conversation was passed to next year. Fast forward 2024, we are still going slow at the African Union. The question is, our leadership is fully aware of the pillars of development. Our leaders are fully aware of the enemies to Africa's development. And yet somehow they're incapable of addressing them. We know when it comes to West Africa, the document that African countries were made to sign as they attained their quote-unquote independence, the document that's labeled the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. On one hand, we are giving you your independence, but on the other hand, we want you to sign this document, agreeing to continue to be colonized. And if you choose not to sign this document, in my pocket, I have a gun that has your name. So it is that Guinea and Mali, they chose not to sign the document. History tells us that France moved into those countries, poured concrete into the sewage pipes, destroyed schools, hospitals, roads, anything that could be destroyed, they destroyed. Anything that they could pick up and take back with them to France, they took. According to President Mugabe, they even took the last pencil. This was done as a way of letting the other African countries know that should you refuse to sign this document, this was the fate that awaited you. Further down, we have more countries that tried to say, wait a minute, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization is something that's not sustainable. You have to give up 85% at that time of your bank reserves, deposit them with France. Those funds, once gone, they're not coming back. All your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered belong to France, and French companies had the first right of refusal. Your language of instruction shall be French. Your military can only be equipped by France. Your military can only be trained by France. Now, give me a break here. Imagine you are the president of a West African country under French control, and your chief of staff comes to you on your first day in office and says, Mr. President, before you resume your duties, I have some information to share with you. You must give up control of your finances. You must give up control of your natural resources. You must give up control of your military. Now, if you stay away from those, You are free to run your country as you wish. What kind of a country are you running? What kind of a leader are you? And I'm going to bring that question to you. To this day, those African countries are still required to deposit their bank reserves with France. Now, the numbers have gone down some. They're down to the 50, 55, 60. But by and large, with the exception of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali that said, France, pack your bags and go home. The rest of the African countries are still subjected and held to the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. There are many other pacts and treaties that African countries were forced to sign that are still in place today. So enemy number one is the existence of pacts and treaties that we know they go against the development of Africa. But our leaders, for various reasons, and we know those who have tried to pull away, they've either been assassinated or exiled. So the realities are there, that if African leaders try to push back, there's some serious consequences. In spite of all that, there are some other issues that they also could deal with. We know the NGOs are nothing but wolf in sheep's clothing as they come into our countries. A lot of embassies as well. We have a few nice embassies. But we have many countries that are also just here to make sure that they continue to destabilize the countries. They make sure that the elections are forever interrupted, so they can continue to further their agendas within those respective countries. But also, there are things that we can do something about. You take, for example, our educational system. Why is it that we are still using colonial textbooks? What is keeping the Minister of Education from changing the curriculum? Nothing. Except just maybe the Minister of Education feels that the more they study European history, the more affluent they're supposed to be. Why is it that we are all fully aware that the loans that are being given to African countries, the loans that have been given to African countries for centuries, are frivolous loans that have been paid 1 million times over? We also know very well, for those of you who have not read this book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, if you have not read that book, I urge you to read it. This is a former CIA who was himself an economic hitman, who in his older years, he says, the evils, the crimes that I've committed, I cannot lie down in my grave. So he speaks truth to power. He's talking about what he did, the games they played to force African countries to get loans to build a dam that should cost, for discussion purposes, 100 million. But he was encouraged to come up with figures to make that dam cost $1 billion. Ridiculous amounts. And then World Bank would come in and offer to fund that. And the rest of the money is pocketed. Now the country is stuck with $1 billion loan for something that should have cost 100 million. I encourage all of you to read that book, so you see the games that are being played. Now we know all that. Then why is it that our ministers of finance every year, twice a year, they go to the World Bank? They know what's going on, but they say nothing. What is keeping us as Africans from coming together and speaking with one voice and letting the World Bank know, and the IMF, that we have paid for these loans a gazillion times over. We aren't paying for them no more. What are they going to do? If Africa stood together and said this wrong must be righted, what are we afraid of? Why can't we just say it like it is? It is damn wrong. And it cannot continue. But we're afraid. You see, they defeated us where it matters the most. That even things that we have the ability to change, we are afraid of changing them. You see, when the Europeans first came to Africa, they brought us religion. We went to school. They taught us about the colors: orange, yellow, green, white. And then we went to church. And they taught us about a human being called Jesus Christ. And they talked about the angels, and they talked about who are in heaven, a place we all want to go to. They're beautiful, they're angelic, they're desirable. And oh, by the way, they're white. And oh, by the way, we are white, like the angels. But remember, in school, they told us this was white. But never mind how we look. We may look rather pinkish, but don't disregard that. We are white believers. Then they turned around and said there's something called hell. And there's a devil there. A mean creature. Ugly, undesirable, does all the horrible things, and that creature is black. And oh, by the way, you too are black. Never mind this black color that we told you in school. And so it is. A blatant lie was told to us, and we have never stood up to say that's a damn lie. I'm not black. They're not white. But never mind. You look like the devil because we told you so. We look like the angels because we told you so. So it is when a little 5-year-old black boy is given 2 sets of dolls, black dolls and white dolls. And he's asked which one is mean, he points at the black one. He's asked which one is ugly, he points at the black one. He's asked which one is nice, he points at the white one. Which one is beautiful, he points at the white one. And then when asked which one is more like you, he sheepishly points at the black one. The 5-year-old boy is defeated before his life even begins. I can tell you there is no self-respecting mother, father, uncle, aunt who sat this little boy down and said, you are black and you are ugly. But somehow, there are subliminal messages that this boy just knows it. Think about it. So that same little boy who grew up to be the Minister of Education, he's not going to like anything to do with him. So yes, European history is what weighs hard. African history? No. It is the same reasoning when I was asked to be a keynote speaker at the National Conference of African Educators. And what I learned that day was that African educators, you African educators, you don't read your own work in order to be tenured. Many professors, to be tenured, they gotta write 10, 20, 30, 40 papers. And those papers can only be reviewed in Europe, in the United States, by credible universities. So I said to the professors, You don't trust each other? You are not credible? If you can't trust each other, why should we parents trust you with our children? To this day, unless things have recently changed, to be tenured in universities in Africa, your work has to be reviewed outside Africa. What's wrong with having universities in North Africa send their work to Southern Africa? Universities in West Africa send their work to East Africa. But no, black professors are going to be reviewing it. It's not acceptable. They won't have the same weight. Do you realize how sad and painful that is? To this day. And the professors are right here, so I'm going to go after you. Because this stupidity has got to come to an end. It is filtering through to everything that we are doing. I am telling you, my brothers and sisters, we are the laughingstock of the world. They know what they're doing to us is wrong. I was a speaker at one conference of journalists. And I asked, I said, why do you guys lie about Africa? Why do you publish stories that are blatantly wrong and you know it? And I still remember it was a journalist from CNN. He says, nobody challenges us. It's just that simple. Nobody challenges us. I can tell you, the current US ambassador to the United Nations, and I'm going to call her out. She was fired by President Trump when I was going to Washington. She used to come to my office, and she would say, Ambassador, talk to the ambassadors. They need to speak up. When she was the former Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, she said, Ambassador, I'll be sitting on this side with the American side, and there'll be the Africans over there. She said, if they could just say some obvious things that would help her come back and make decisions and recommend certain changes. But the Africans don't speak. She said, tell these ambassadors to speak up. Why are we afraid? Because we were defeated where it matters the most, the mind. So no matter how hard we try to change our Africa, until we heal from the legacy of colonization, nothing we try to do is going to succeed. If we don't heal from the legacy of colonization, we will continue to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction. Who are we as Africans? What do we stand for? I challenged ECOWAS when they were trying to mobilize a military to go and fight Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Oh, we can have a coup. I said, help me understand something. France has had coups against these nations for centuries. When France is forcing these countries to deposit their bank reserves with France, that's a coup, an economic coup. President Tinubu, what have you done about this coup? You are sitting on the big boy chair now. Talk to me. What are you going to do about this coup? When France is making sure that all natural resources for these countries belong to France, that's a coup. What are you going to do about it, ECOWAS? These are coups. But somehow, we don't see them as coups because it's the white men doing it. If a black man was doing the same thing to another black man, oh, you know, they'll call them out in a heartbeat. We have a serious problem as Africans. We don't even realize how sick we are with this disease. We are not just sick at home. We are not just sick in the doctor's waiting room. We are not just sick in the general ward in the hospital. We are in the intensive care. It's deep. You see, as a doctor, I cannot help you unless you come to me with your complaints. At least recognize that you're sick. But most of the time, we don't even realize that we are sick. So where do we begin? This stupidity that is going on in Africa has got to come to an end. And you can't expect those who put us in positions of servitude to get us out. It's not going to happen. So the question is, when is the African going to wake up? The African is stupid in Africa. The African is stupid in America. The African is stupid in South America. The African is stupid in the Caribbean. Wherever you see us as black people, we do some of the most stupid things. You go into neighborhoods. In America, where I've spent most of my time, look at the Mexicans. They stick together like super glue when it comes to issues pertaining to their existence in the United States as Mexicans. The Irish, the Jews, the Chinese, the Indians ask for their voices loud and clear because they understand the importance of unity. They don't have to love each other, but they understand when it comes to issues pertaining to their sheer existence, they must stick together like super glue, and they do. But when we ask for the voices of black people, we scatter like mice. We don't believe in each other. I was in Dallas and one Zimbabwean, I was asking, are there a lot of Zimbabweans who are you? No, I don't talk to Zimbabweans. I'm the only black person in my neighborhood, and she was so proud of it. I'm speaking to another friend, this time in Zimbabwe. She was so proud that her son cannot speak Shona, and that the son speaks English like a British. And she's telling me this with a certain level of pride. And that's the mother, which means the child is just as doomed. When are we going to wake up and realize that our inability to move forward as a people is because we were defeated where it matters the most? I'm so glad we're sitting here in an institution of higher learning. I'm going to ask you to say, what are we going to do about the educational curriculum? Because that's where it begins. They don't want us knowing our history. They don't want us knowing where we came from. Because if you are a person without a history, who are you? Where do you come from? As Africans, we are too busy running away from who we are. We don't want to embrace our Africanness. Why not? If you refuse and don't accept your Africanness, then who are you? I tell the Africans when they try to act like they want to speak like an American, they want to lose their accent. You can never speak English like an American. Then you don't want to speak your own vernacular. Then who are you? You are just like a ship without an anchor. The wind blows that way, there you go. The wind blows that way, there you go. And there are too many of us who find themselves in that boat without an anchor. What's happening in Burkina Faso must be supported. What's happening in Mali must be supported. What's happening in Niger must be supported. If you care the least bit about our future, how else are we going to get France out of Africa? How else are we going to get Britain, Germany, all those former colonizers? They're now in as multinationals, siphoning billions out of Africa, using safe havens to hide their returns. We know they're here. They are now wolf in sheep's clothing. What is it going to take? If you look at the move that Niger made, by simply saying, France, you can no longer buy our uranium for 80 cents a kilo, when we know very well you're selling it for 200 euros per kilo. Niger was realizing about 1 billion out of the sales of its uranium a year, while France was realizing close to 300 billion. That one move alone, when Niger said, if you want our uranium, 200 euros a kilo, please. Immediately, 300 billion. 1 million. It's not going to take much to change Africa. We got what it takes. If there's one thing we're very fortunate of, we are endowed with everything the rest of the world needs. The truth of the matter is, we don't need the world. The world needs Africa. But do we really know that and believe in it and are ready to stand up and proclaim who we are? And let them know. But I've sat in meetings where I've seen ministers, America, can you help us with this? Europe, can you help us? Begging endlessly for something that we have. Whatever they are giving you is what they stole from us. And they are giving you peanuts. When are we going to stop being outsmarted by these people? They come smiling at you. They come to give you aid. You know very well that's your money. But we're so grateful. I once went to the World Bank. Oh, Ambassador, we have money for the African Union. Please, when the chairman comes. So the deputy chair came, and we went. They had $15 million for us. $15 million for the whole African Union. And here's the kicker. They were only going to give us 50% of that. And then when we can show them what we have done with the 7.5 million, then we can have the other 7.5. Blatantly insulting us. And I'm not supposed to say anything. I got my deputy chair, so I need to shut up. But I asked to go to the bathroom. And I called the chair. I said, could you please come down the hall? I said, let's not take that money. I don't know about you, but I feel highly and royally insulted. Treat you like a child. You don't know how to handle money. So we'll just give you 7.5 million. Let's see what you do with it. And then we may or may give you the rest. It's the same thing they're doing at the United Nations. When Africa is supposed to be at the UN Security Council as the 6th and 7th members of the UN Security Council. But you can't have veto power. So come on in, Africa. Oh, we got a kiddie chair over here for you. Sit over there, we got some cookies. Sit over there and be quiet while we take care of business. And we entertain them. Wow. What's wrong with us? What gives me hope is that we have a vibrant African youth who are saying enough is enough. We are not taking this anymore. This abuse has got to come to an end. The exploitation of the African continent has got to come to an end. The Berlin Conference must be dismantled. And for those of you who think Berlin Conference is a piece of history, guess what? It's a piece of legislation nicely designed over a period of 4 months to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated to this day. As long as there's a country called Malawi, as long as there's a country called Gabon with 1.5 million people, as long as there's a country called Eswatini, Berlin Conference is alive and well. And that's where we get defeated internationally through trade. Oh, you're all equal. You are a sovereign nation, Eswatini. You are a sovereign nation, Togo. You are a sovereign nation, Malawi. And every African country for that matter. So let's go to the market. You, Malawi, with your little basket, with 3 eggs, you're coming to the market. And here comes China with truckloads of eggs. I once was told that Zimbabwe thought, well, let's see if we can sell eggs to China. Let's supply some eggs. They're bringing stuff to us. Let's give them eggs. So I told the president, ask people to go do some research and see how much eggs we need to send to China. The report came back and said, Mr. President, the amount of eggs we produce the whole year, that's 1 breakfast in China. So you want Zimbabwe to go to the market with China and sell eggs. That's David and Goliath. And it was all by design. As long as we remain as the little-bitty economies that we are today, we are forever getting our rear ends kicked. The only way for Africa to survive is when we unite. A united Africa is a must, but it's going to take minds that are awoken, minds that understand the importance of unity, minds that are free of the legacy of colonization and the legacy of slavery. As we speak today, we're all sick from the disease. None of us is exempt. And that's a fact. I'm going to ask each and every one of you to have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. And ask yourself why you feel the way you do. Why are you automatically afraid of those who don't look like you? Why do you feel defeated? Why are you afraid to speak up and stand your ground? Besides, you are the mothers and fathers of humanity. Without the black woman, without the black man, the rest of the world would not be. That's a fact. We civilized the world. They came to Africa and stole everything that they never had. Came back with what they stole from us and made us believe that they gave it to us. Timbuktu. Egypt. The Greeks, when they needed to be trained, where were they sent? To Egypt. Because it was already there. We're already doing it. But they wanted the history to start from here, so we don't talk about what happened before. My brothers and sisters, we are inheritors of an amazing continent. South Africa is an amazing country. We have people like Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, our very own president. People who suffered and sacrificed everything for this country to be free. Why are we trying to disrespect them and go back? South Africa should lead the way. Nigeria should lead the way. Kenya should lead the way. We have countries that should lead the way because they have what it takes to take Africa where Africa needs to be. But let me also add that the leaders cannot do it alone. I don't care what ideas President Zuma had. If we are not ready to implement those ideas and think he can do it as leadership alone, it's not going to work. I was discussing the issues of the quote-unquote coups in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. One African said, but Ambassador, why do we have to do coups to change government? Why can't we just do like the Chinese do? I said, son, let me ask you one question. During the pandemic, the Chinese built a 10,000 square foot hospital bed in 1 week. Are you Africans ready to do that? The Chinese are willing to work non-stop to do what needs to be done for the sake of country, for the sake of nation. We're too greedy, too selfish to do that. I said, son, until you start having the mind of a Chinaman, you can never be like a Chinaman. We have some serious introspection to do. We have some serious thinking to do. We're not asking you to love each other. We simply understand. We want you to understand that while there is a certain level of camaraderie that exists in other races, there was a strategy put in place to make sure that we remain divided and conquered. Fear was intentionally instilled in us. So we will be forever fearful for nothing, but we're just afraid. There's another book I want to recommend to all of you. It's called The Making of a Slave, the Willie Lynch Letters. Willie Lynch was a slave owner from the Caribbean. He had come up with a way of training his slaves so they would remain submissive for generations to come. One of the ways was taking a black man, tie one leg on one horse facing that way, another leg on another horse facing that way, and he will hit the horses, and they would literally split the men apart. In front of his children, in front of his family, in front of other black people and other slaves. And he particularly wanted the pregnant women. Why? That would be passed on, that fear would be passed on to even the unborn child. So it is, over 400 years later, we almost underwent a genetic mutation of sheer stupidity. We were programmed to be afraid. We were programmed to almost be stupid and just do stupid things. The things that we tolerate, no man in any other country would tolerate. But we do. It's going to take all of you. The students, you are our future. We're counting on you. We're a lost cause. I feel encouraged when we have young people like our moderator. Young people who are awoken. Young people who are saying we can no longer continue to be lied to anymore. We know the truth. Is South Africa ready? Is South Africa ready to lead the way? To stand up and say enough is enough? That we can no longer continue to be exploited. We can no longer continue to be treated as second-class citizens in our own land. The future is bright. If only we could understand that the power is in our hands. Yes, leadership has a lot of role to play, but we have a bigger role to play as citizens. Let's believe in ourselves. Let's stand up for what's right. Let's let the world know that we are the inheritors of the most amazing continent. But they can no longer continue to allow our resources, our inheritance, to fund the educational systems in their countries, to fund the healthcare systems in their countries, to fund the infrastructure development in their countries. while we are languishing in poverty. And they have the audacity to tell us that we're poor people. How dare they? Let me conclude by reading 3 quotes. The first one is from former President Jomo Kenyatta. He said, when missionaries arrived, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bible. They taught us how to pray with our eyes closed. When we opened them, they had the land and we had the Bible. The next quote is from Marcus Garvey. He said, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. And finally, Patrice Lumumba said, the day will come when history will speak. Africa will write its own history. It will be a history of glory and dignity. The time is now. There is no turning back. Africa, wake up. The issues of justice, equality, we understand them. Our ask as Africans is a simple one. We're simply asking that the world treats us the same way they would want to be treated. We are demanding a world that is just, a world that is fair, a world that is free of bigotry and hate. We're not asking the world to do anything that they would not want done unto them. So our ask is a very simple one. I need each and every one of you, after you've had a serious conversation with the image in the mirror, to stand up on top of the tallest mountain, look in the mirror, and tell the world that we are the proud, the beautiful, the intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible Africans. Viva Africa! Viva Africa! Viva! A luta continua.
I think we can give her another round of applause for that one. One now understands why terms such as His Excellency or Her Excellency are shared, because they are excellent in their ways. And we do thank you so much, Mama, for sharing your heart with us this evening. To provide us a reflection of the day's proceeding, we've had quite a full day. Those who were able to join us at Robben Island would be able to attest to the fact that our day has been, we are full. I think we are full mentally, I think we're full spiritually, I think we're full physically, I think we're full. And to provide us a little bit of a reflection in terms of what happened and some of the insights that were shared by the former President Jacob Zuma into now this particular evening of the inaugural lecture, please do give a warm welcome to the podium Reverend Alan Bosak, who is, of course, the Deputy Chairperson of the Foundation.
Thank you so much, Program Director. I am very happy to be able to do this, but I have to reflect on what happened this morning on Robben Island and what we heard tonight. but President Zuma has slipped out for a moment, so I can't talk to him, but I want to say to him in his presence what I want everybody to hear. So in the meantime, I greet you all good evening, all my friends and comrades, and those who used to be comrades who are also here tonight. And brothers and sisters, it has been a full and a wonderful day. So let me begin with Her Excellency, our dear sister Arikana. We knew what we should expect from you. And we came here expecting that from you. But we got so much more than we expected. So if you came here tonight to hear some truth spoken, you have come to the right place. And if you came here tonight to hear some straight talk, not just about other people, but about ourselves, you came to the right place. And if you came here tonight to be inspired, you came to the right place. We now know that there are no more excuses left for a hidden African history, for a hidden African reality, and for a hidden African future. We also now know more than ever before that that future has to be shaped by ourselves if we have to be true to the destiny that we have been set upon by God. We know that we can no longer profit from following false precepts just because we were told so. Because we can tell ourselves what the truth is. We now know that tonight. And that we all got that from you tonight. And we are so grateful for what you have been telling us. It's true, though. I think that there are winds of change blowing once again in Africa, but not like Mr. Harold Macmillan meant. Helen Macmillan, I almost said Helen Zeller, shows you. Colonialists are colonialists are colonialists. So I'm sorry, I was a slip of the tongue. But it's true, though. So what he meant was that the winds that he saw blowing through Africa in the beginning of the 1960s would be winds that would be controlled by the imperialists, whose direction and whose pace of change would be controlled by the colonialists. He made that speech here in Cape Town, but he made the speech first in January of 1960 in Ghana, and in front of him in the audience sat Kwame Nkrumah. He knew that Kwame Nkrumah had already told his generation and ours that there is such a thing as new colonialism, and unless you have full economic freedom for your people, and full dignity for your people, and full social justice for your people, you will remain a colonized country. And unless your mind is changed and decolonized, you will remain a colonized country. And those winds are blowing again. You have mentioned this, and you are such a prime example of it. And you have reminded us what is happening in West Africa, Burkina Faso, and in Mali and in Niger. And the thing that I find interesting with that situation is now all of a sudden the world has to really think, why does a military coup bring liberation to people? And why does it become the cause of the people and not the cause of a handful of greedy men? That is a change that's coming. Thank you for reminding us of that in your wonderful, wonderful, passionate and compassionate articulation of these truths. We listened this morning, and there is a reason why we thought we should go to Robben Island. And of course, the most obvious reason is that we wanted to go to the place where Walter Sisulu spent 18 years of his life. And we were thinking, Mr. President, Comrade Jay-Z, my brother, we were thinking, who amongst those still alive, who had been there, who will not speak from what they read in papers and in articles and in books or heard in speeches, but speak from what they know, from what they had experienced, who knew the reasons why they were banished to that island, who understood the word sacrifice and dedication and power in a different way. And the name that came up was yours. When I called you to ask whether you would do us this favor to come and speak as the guest of the Sisulu Foundation, you did not even hesitate. You canceled whatever you had for today, and you said yes. And I thought, isn't that so typical of Jacob Zuma? So thank you. Thank you. But I've come to know you a little better now in these last year or two. And at first I thought, I wonder why these people are so afraid of this man. He is gentle, he is kind, he smiles so easily, he laughs, he sings, he dances. And when I think of all those things, I think, oh, well, that's why they are so afraid of him. Because I have come to the conclusion that Jacob Zuma has two things that I don't know if there's any other politician who has it. Jacob Zuma is the undisputable king of political strategy in this country. So when they think they see him coming, they don't ever see him coming. We've seen that since December 16 last year, and I'm thinking we will see a lot more of that. The other thing is, though, and this is true, I've watched you, and I don't know whether there is any other politician who is so much loved by the people than you are. And so that's also the other. And in my community, we say, "Hy loop met 'n stokkie." So there is some kind of magic around him, tour doctor magic or something, because I watched this man speak in Pretoria. Now, if he speaks at a stadium full of black folks, I can understand that. But he speaks in Pretoria, my sister, before white people, Afrikaner white people. And they cheer him and they clap for him. And then he sings Mshini Wam, and they sing with him, white people. That's magic. So I'm so grateful that the two of you had come to make this launch a special day, because this is an extraordinarily important moment in our history tonight, the launch of the Sisulu Foundation. And I want to pay tribute to Minister Lindiwe Sisulu for having this vision and for having the courage to push it through. And courage is the word, my sister. Courage is the word. We saw what they did to you. The moment you dare to raise your hand, the moment you dare to speak truth, the moment you dare to point the nation in a different direction, we saw what they did. I have never seen such an ocean of bile poured upon somebody. But it's the same fear that they have for the people sitting on the stage tonight. And whilst they have that fear, we know that somewhere deep down we are doing the right thing, because they are afraid when the people hear you, they will no longer be followed. And that is what this foundation wants to do. We want to be sure that our people understand we are here because there is such a crisis in our country. When you have corruption from top to bottom, that's a crisis. When you have unemployment for young people so high that we've never seen before, cycles of poverty that is now generational and pursued ruthlessly through an economic policy called neoliberalism that put all of what we have and what we deserve in the hands of a small few, and you allow 6 white families to run this country and run you in the process. That's a crisis. And we have to respond to that crisis. And when you have the World Bank, who put you in this crisis, tell you that because of the policies you follow by them set for you, you are now the most unequal society in the world, so that you can blame yourself and ask yourself, what have we done wrong? That's a crisis. And so in the midst of this crisis, we're launching this Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice. But when you have a crisis, it means, it's so big and so overwhelming that it cannot be ignored, it cannot be denied, it cannot be submerged with any kind of argument. But I think of Chairman Mao, some of you who remember him. Chairman Mao, in the middle of the Cultural Revolution, where things were crazy in China, said a thing that I will never forget. Chairman Mao said, "There is utter chaos under the heavens." And then he said, "Therefore, the situation is excellent." Now, that means for me that when you know that the crisis is so deep and so big and so that you can no longer afford to ignore it or argue it away, it can either mean that you are drowning in your own desperation, or it can mean that you now see that this is something that must be done, and I am the one to do it. It offers humanity their most hopeful moment. That's what this foundation represents, our most hopeful moment in this crisis. And therefore, this situation is excellent. We are making the right choices here. There's another thing the foundation wants to do, and we've heard about it this morning in the reminiscences of President Zuma and in what we heard from our sister Arikana tonight. And that is a thing I call unremembering. Now, unremembering is not forgetfulness. It's not when you can no longer remember, oh, I wanted to say this, but I can't remember. Or that happened, but I can't. That's forgetfulness. It's not like people saying, I do not want to think about that anymore because it's too painful. People in my community who will not speak about our history of enslavement in the Cape, they say, let us forget that because it's too painful. Especially if you know that there is very little that you can do about it, because in your history books that your children are taught in school, that history is never even mentioned. And so that's something that you want to forget. That's stepping away from a painful memory. And so our children do not know that Robben Island did not become famous in the 1960s, but Robben Island was an island where our heroes were sent to way, way back when the Dutch came here for the first time and the British came here for the first time. And that on that island, that amazing young woman by the name of Krotua, who at 14 could speak her mother tongue and other Khoi languages and could speak English and Dutch and Portuguese, served as an interpreter for her clan in Van Riebeek's castle. And when they found out that she used her position to spy for her people so that they could fight back when their land was invaded and stolen by the Dutch, then they sent her to Robben Island. And they tortured her to the extent that she would lose herself in alcohol, and now they call her a drunk mate. That woman is our mother. She was on that island. Auchimau was on that island. David Steelman was on, and he was the only one in history to escape from Robben Island, not once, but twice. Twice. I'm glad you didn't have to escape and swim and somebody ate you up in the water so that you can be here with us today, my brother. But so that unremembering is a deliberate political decision to leave certain things out of history, to erase certain things, to fade things away, not to tell certain things in the way they happen so that I alone can claim the glory for myself. We've seen that in 300 years of colonial history. We've seen that in the last 30 years of ANC history as well. That needs to change. And so Walter Sisulu, the role that he played, the man that he was, the ideals that he served, the ideas that he had, we will place that in the center. We will not unremember that man. We will not unremember Albertina. We will not unremember her courage and her faith and her strength, which we can see her daughter has inherited from them both. And so I'm so grateful to the universities, Stellenbosch University and Vaal University of Technology, who are going to name centers in the names of these two amazing leaders. And it's not just about the name change, or the naming, or the renaming. It's about the ideas and the ideals and the dedication and the service and everything that they had to be translated not just into the curriculum, but into the lives of their students, so that what they believed in and what they strived for and what they fought for and what they died for would become a habit of the heart. So that we do it just because we are, just because we know it's right. The last thing that I want to talk about is this. I have seen celebrations of the life of Walter Sisulu and celebrations of the life of Albertina Sisulu by people and by organizations whose name I cannot remember. And as I watched those celebrations, I thought, a celebration means you honor what was in them because you recognize what was in them in you still. Listen to what I'm saying. You honor them because you recognize that what was in them that you honor is in you still. Otherwise, you've got to remember the difference, though. When you watch all of these celebrations and all of these honorings and all of these whatever it is, you're going to know the difference between reaching and scrambling for struggle credentials when you have none anymore. The difference between that and between knowing what is right and reclaiming the nobility of the struggle. So it's not about credentials of the struggle, it's about the nobility of the struggle. If you have lost that, no amount of honorings will help you or save you, or replace the trust of the people in you, or the love of the people in you. Because, my brothers and sisters, you cannot make greed and expediency your creed and celebrate Walter and Albertina Sisulu. You cannot refuse responsibility and accountability and still celebrate the life of Walter Sisulu and Albertina Sisulu. You cannot justify Pala Pala or cover it up and still celebrate the life of Walter Sisulu and Albertina Sisulu. You cannot betray the hopes and the dreams and the ideals of your people and of your young people and steal their future and still celebrate the life of Walter Sisulu and Albertina Sisulu. Because if you do these things, you have already denied everything that they were and everything that they gave and everything that they left us, the generation that comes behind. And so that's why we are here tonight. And we will celebrate that in all honor. We will celebrate that in all integrity. We will celebrate that with all the vigor in our hearts. We will celebrate that with a new refound discovery of who we are and what we were and where we're going to. And we'll tell our children that, and we'll tell our young people that, and we will teach it, and we will preach it, and we will live it. That's what we are doing in this foundation. And thank you for coming tonight and doing it with us.
Yes, you may clap once more. It is worthy of that. Reverend, we thank you. I just, because I am in the media and I am a journalist, so my ears are always attuned to conversations that are always happening each and every space. And my ear, it's not my fault, it's just my journalism skills. Just happened to peek into a conversation that was held in this corner of the room. And the conversation was in this way, where the CEO said, this is a different kind of foundation. And you know what, CEO, I agree with you. This is a different kind of foundation. And I don't think it's a foundation anymore. I don't think we can call it a foundation. I think, patron, we can't call it a foundation anymore. It's now become a movement, a way of life, the future of the Republic, what we want to see. So thank you for anchoring a movement at such a time as this, when the country needs it the most. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and give a round of applause to the patron of the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, the former minister, Lindiwe Sisulu. And our patron, would you like to just give a vote of thanks as we close off this session? Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, our program director. I went to political school in Russia, sent by that man there who's pretending he doesn't know me, Jacob Zuma. And spent 1.5 years there, preparing myself to come back and fight and understand the politics of the world and our own politics. The bottom line was, when all has been said, there's no need to repeat it. There is no need to embellish it. I could go on and on. But I'm very grateful for this moment. Very grateful for the people who worked with me. Very grateful for Arikana agreeing to come all the way from the United States to come and address us at the very... It was almost at the drop of a hat. She didn't hesitate, she didn't quibble, she said, I'm coming. And she's here, gave us a very inspiring talk. Arikana, thank you very much. I must tell you I must tell you that most of our students at in this country watch your videos. And I feel very sad that perhaps you might be going back before they've actually felt you. And I'm throwing it to the people who run institutions. Arigana is here at our invitation. She will be leaving. Take the opportunity, if you can, for her to address your students and inspire them to be better and better than what they might believe in themselves. Because what is hidden in them, in each one of them, is something that will build our country and make it better. Thank you very much, Arigana. Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Zuma, for coming to spend the day with us. I served under Comrade Zuma in various positions, and one of those positions was being a Minister of Intelligence, because I'm trained by the Russians to do that. And one of the most outstanding times of my life as a Minister of Intelligence was tracing a group of mercenaries. A group of mercenaries that had planned from Zimbabwe to hire a plane in South Africa to go to Central Africa and take over the country. So we allowed them to talk because we could understand what they were saying. And when they were about to take off, we got hold of them. But because they had already been given a clearance to leave, it was very difficult to bring them back into the country. So we got onto the next plane and arrived there before they arrived. In Central Africa, the president there understood what was happening, and the police came to the airport and arrested them. And they were there for several years. And then, to my shock and horror, 2-3 years down the line, President Zuma goes and fetches the same mercenaries because they were South Africans. Because the president of Central Africa said, look, I don't want these people. They're eating my food. They're not producing anything. So please take them. So a special plane is put at our disposal. President Zuma fetches these people. And they come back, and I'm saying, but Comrade Zuma, what are we doing? He says, well, you know, Central Africa needs to get rid of these people, and these people belong here. If you want them, keep them in your prisons. I've worked with Comrade Zuma, and he looked after me. And Comrade Zuma, I'm very grateful for the time you've been with me. I'm very grateful that when I came out of prison and needed help, you were there for me. I'm grateful for the opportunities you've given me as a minister. I am today a better person because I served as a minister responsible for several ministries and accountable to this country. And I keep thinking that one day I will write a book of all the things that we did. But I'll start off with this one. After being a Minister of Intelligence, I'm Minister of Housing. And President Zuma says, look, let's go to a squatter camp that I'm very worried about. The squatter camp is of a unique nature because it's a squatter camp of Afrikaner people, white people. Now, in our country, you will not find Afrikaner people in a squatter camp. So President Zuma goes there and says, look, I've brought the Minister of Housing. I want to assist you. And the lady says, you know, President, you have no idea. We live like Kafirs here. And that made our day. The following day, we were there. We removed everything and built the houses that they needed because they had provided us with just mind-breaking. And Comrade Zuma just stood there. I mean, we were giggling dead, but he just stood there and maintained a steely face. Comrade Zuma, those people were given houses, thanks to you, and they don't live like heifers anymore. Arigana, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming again. I just can't get over this, because we called her to say, look, we want you to come and assist us launch this foundation. She said, oh, any day. And she did, and she is here. You're a wonder, Africana. Arigana, sorry. You're a wonder. And I am proposing to this SRC that I'll give you all the previous videos that Arigana has made, just so that you can understand what is possible in a woman. Because it is only in a woman that you can get the kind of forthrightness. I mean, I know we've just had another burst of forthrightness there, but a natural forthrightness that you will need in life can only come from a woman. It is true. Men have a way of massaging everything they say and do. It is part of their nature. Your mother will tell you exactly what you need to know. Can't be better than that. Thank you very much to my Ike omitted to tell you that he is married to my cousin. Ike's wife is Magaziwe Mandela, that very steely woman. That's Ike's wife. And that is my cousin. Magaziwe's mom and my father are first cousins. So I'm still waiting for him to give us the cows. Because I had hoped he would make them possible, he'd provide us with this today. We would have given you free lunch or free dinner. But thank you very much, Ike. Mpumzi and your wife. I don't know where I'd be without the two of you. Thank you very much for everything. To all of you, thank you for giving yourselves time, or giving me the time and giving us the time to be with you. We hope we will walk away from here and reflect on some of the things that have been said. What Arigana said touched me, because yesterday I was telling her something that I thought needed to be raised. I said, you know, Arigana, when I was Minister of International Relations, sent by Comrade Zuma, we provided the United Nations with a statue of Madiba. You know that statue of Madiba doing that? A beautiful statue that cost us a lot of money. I was very happy to provide it to the United Nations. And it stood at the entrance of the UN chamber with his arms like that. And we were so proud. A week later, we found that same statue next to the toilets downstairs, because the President of the United States did not want Madiba there. I want to throw this on your lap, Arigana. Please rescue our Madiba from the toilets of the United Nations and put him back where he belongs. And to all of you, thank you so much for the time that you've given us. My family, Arigana, covers white people, black people with long hair, light-colored people. It is the whole United Nations right here. And to all of you who've given yourselves time to be here, we are honored by your presence, and we're very grateful for the time that you've given us. Thank you very much to all of you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, whilst the photographs are being taken at the moment, we have brought this particular lecture, the inaugural memorial lecture, to a close. It was officially brought to a close. However, if you've got a yellow tag, I do see some of you with yellow tags. So yellow tags, I know that you're wearing it. You're going to be proceeding upstairs. You will be ushered upstairs where we will have our awards that will be given, and just honoring different families. We're looking at the Keynote 4, and it is the Walton Albertina Sisulu Struggle Awards that will be taking place up the stairs. So if you got yourself a yellow tag, you will be ushered upstairs, and of course then the proceedings will continue up the stairs as well. The rest of us, thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful session. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for just honoring the invitation, and let's continue with the movement. Much appreciated. It is now drawn to a close. Thank you.